Okay, everybody, hope all is well. We're continuing our weekly Parasha class. We're on Parashat Re'eh. Let's begin. So the Torah discusses somebody called a mesis. What is a mesis? What we call in English a missionary. And what's this person's goal? A missionary's goal is to get people away from Judaism. For example, a Jewish person trying to convert another Jew to Christianity. Or, for example, it doesn't have to just be Christianity. It could be that they're trying to get people to, stop believing in Torah, maybe become atheists, practice idolatry, convert to another religion, whatever it is. But that's what we call a mesis. Someone who's his mission is to get a Jew to drop his Judaism. Now, somebody like that, the Torah says something unbelievable about this person. The Torah says in Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse number 9, "You shall not accede him and not hearken to him. Your eye shall not take pity on him. You shall not be compassionate. You should not be compassionate nor conceal him. Rather, you should surely kill him. Your hand shall be the first against him to kill him, and the hand of the entire people afterwards." And then it says, he gets death penalty by stoning. And it says that, you got to remove the evil from your midst, right? And they shall not do, all Israel shall hear and fear, and they shall not again do such an evil thing in your midst, okay? So to scare people see how bad his punishment is, and they get scared to do it. Now, something unbelievable. When you look at the halachas of a mesis, if you go to Rambam Mishnah Torah, he brings down the halachas of how we treat a mesis. How we treat, I'm going to use the word missionary, just a better word to use, easier word to use. How we treat a missionary, it's unbelievable. The way the Torah, tells us how we have to treat this person. So, the Torah says, in a regular capital crime, so this guy, the mesis, he gets capital punishment. But the way his capital punishment is much different than any other case of capital punishment, such as a murderer, such as, somebody who, worships idols himself. I'm not talking about somebody who's trying to get other people to worship idols, but an idol worshiper, a murderer, somebody who breaks Shabbat. Now, the Torah, although it says for certain crimes like breaking Shabbat is death penalty, a lot of other things like murder or whatever. The Torah says that there's a bunch of crimes you look in the Torah that the Torah says a person should get a death penalty for. But if you study the oral Torah tells us something fascinating, that death penalty was very rare. Meaning what? If a court executed somebody once in 70 years, that's considered a cruel court. In other words, it was very, very rare to kill people, to get death penalty. Think about it. Even in America, there's probably, in the American court, they probably killed more people by execution than the entire history of the Jewish court, the Supreme Court. And the Torah makes it extremely difficult to get the death penalty. For example, the Torah says the person, before he does the crime, has to be warned. How many times before a person is about to commit a murder does he get warned by two? And the people who warn him have to be two kosher witnesses. If these witnesses, for example, don't believe in the 13 principles of Judaism, they violate Shabbat, they don't keep kosher, they're invalidated. So they have to, imagine a guy's about to murder another person. So they have to warn him. The two witnesses have to be kosher. Then while he's doing it, afterwards they have to be there, they have to see the whole action, which always is not the case. And on top of that, there's so many halachas. The court, when they interrogate the guy to see if he did the crime, they do whatever they can to try to find a contradiction in his words so they don't have to kill him. For example, let's say, the place where he committed the murder, the apples were extremely large. And the guy says, oh, yeah, the apples were small. Oh, contradiction. Okay, they try looking for ways of finding a way not to kill the murderer. Now, if the Torah doesn't want to kill people with death penalty, so then why does the Torah say all over the place, death penalty, stoning, strangulation, whatever it is, all the different types of death penalties, if it's very rare? And the idea is as follows, very, important idea. According to the punishment, you can know the severity of the crime. So if I go to court and I see two people, one guy gets life in prison and one guy gets community service, I could tell based off the punishment who did the bigger crime. So the guy who got life in prison obviously did the much bigger crime than the guy who got community service. So the Torah is trying to let us know, although Hashem is not here to kill us and get rid of us, right? He's not here. He's not an angry man in the sky. He's not here to let's go punish you, this, that, death penalty. It's not like that. We've never seen that in Jewish history. It's not normal. But why does he say it? Because he wants people to know how bad the crime is. And in order to give people the idea, he needs to show them how bad the punishment is. Although theoretically speaking, it's very, very difficult to get to that point to even get there. Now, why am I saying all this? Because when you go to the Mesis, there's 5 halachas that he gets treated way different than anybody else who has capital punishment. And by the way, Rav Noach Weinberg in his book, Wisdom for Living, it brings down this question and answer. So there's 5 different questions. 5 different, halachas that apply to this guy. Halacha number 1. Everybody else, a murderer, someone who breaks Shabbat, someone who does any other capital punishment, they need to be warned before they do it. The Mesis, the missionary who's trying to convert a guy to, another religion, that guy, no warning. What? No warning? How's that fair? No warning for that guy. Don't have pity on him. No warning. Number 2, let's say that guy, the missionary, they say, oh, he's free, case closed. If someone brings evidence, case is reopened. Any other case, that's not the halacha. The halacha is, once the case is closed, game over. Okay? Another halacha. Let's say the guy is being taken out to be punished. Meaning he's taking out the maces. He's about to get stoned. Right? The Torah says you have to stone a person like that. Okay? That guy, let's say someone says, oh, I have evidence. He's not guilty. Sorry, we don't take the evidence. Game over. He's done. What? How's that fair? Everybody else, you would stop the case. You would stop the execution. All of a sudden, you don't stop it. Another halacha is that you have to, against the maces, you have to conceal witnesses. Meaning what? Before the guy, any other person who's doing the crime, we don't go and hide witnesses there to make them observe the crime. Like there's no obligation to. But with the maces, you're supposed to hide people, and catch this guy, FBI surveillance on this guy, and catch him in the act and then execute him, which we don't do with any other person. Okay, not to say that obviously if someone's murdering someone, they're going to stop them, but I'm saying like we don't go out of our way to the same extent as this missionary does, right? And then the last halacha is that on the court we choose the cruelest people to be this guy's judge. We choose an old man, a eunuch, someone who he's castrated, and people who can't have kids. Why? Because those people, for whatever reason, they're very bitter, they're very cruel for whatever reason. I forgot the exact reason. And because they're so cruel, they're going to give this guy a harsh judgment. When everybody else, we don't do that. We don't do something like that. So the question is, why is the Torah treating the missionary so much more harsher than a murderer, than all these other big criminals who deserve capital punishment? Why is he getting the worst? Why is he treated differently? Okay, the murderer, let's do the same thing. Let's do the same thing with every other case of capital punishment. Why this guy? No, we treat him on a different level. And Rav Noach says an unbelievable idea. Rav Noach says that, what is the mesis? What is he doing? What's his, the purpose of life? We know the purpose of life is to get close to God. That's why we exist. Now, if a person is in this world and they are not doing the purpose of life, meaning Hashem created them to get, Hashem created this person to get close to Him, but the person is living his life in a way that his number one mission is to get distance away from God, then guess what? Somebody like that doesn't deserve to live. Meaning, if the purpose of life is to get close to God, but the guy is his mission is to get farther away from God, then what are you doing here? You're not doing your mission. You don't deserve to exist. Now, a murderer and adulterer, on the other hand, although they did horrible crimes, but somebody like that, although they get, the Torah says, those people are horrible and obviously they're going to get, punished for what they do. But again, the guy committed murder, the guy committed, adultery. That doesn't take away from the fact that he still doesn't want to get close to God. Okay, he did something to distance himself, but you wouldn't say, oh, the guy committed adultery, so he's trying to get farther away from God. Okay, he had desires. Again, not to justify. It's horrible crimes. But the missionary, his mission is the opposite of the purpose of life, to get far away from God. That's why the Torah treats him so harsh. Why? Because he's going against the reason why he exists. He's trying to bring and forget himself. He's trying to bring other people away. Okay, you want to sin yourself? Be a idol, or not that it's okay, but you want to be a criminal to yourself. But now you're making your goal to get other people away and to missionize other people and taking them away from God. Whoa. Now it's getting too far. Game over for you, buddy. That's it. So that's unbelievable. So we learned something unbelievable. If the missionary is the worst criminal, supposedly from the Torah, based off what we saw, then the diuk, the inference we can make from that is what? that if the guy whose number one mission is to take people away from God, he's the worst guy in the world, then the opposite. The person whose number one mission, what we call a makarev, a kiruv person, someone who's trying to bring people closer to God. We therefore learn that guy is the greatest person. Why? Because if he's the biggest criminal, then the guy who's trying to bring people closer to God, he's the greatest. It's a logical analysis. It's a logical statement. It's a logical inference. Now, Rav Aaron Kotler says something unbelievable. Rav Aaron Kotler says that we know the Torah says, when Hashem punishes somebody, it's 3 to 4 generations, someone gets punished. And for the people he loves, to reward them, he rewards them for 2,000 generations. Now, if you do the ratio of reward is 500 times more than the ratio of punishment. So again, from the, Rav Noach Weinberg says this beautifully. From the michshol, from the negativity, we can learn what? From if we see a guy, and the guy is so bad, okay, he's all the way to the left. That guy could have been amazing all the way to the right. So if he has, let's say, for example, on a scale, in the negativity range, he went to negative 500. If he wanted to, he had the power to go in the positive 500. That's how great he is. From the negativity, we can learn the positivity. And that's what we learn here. We learn here that the greatest reward, if somebody like this gets the worst punishment and Hashem treats him like, whatever, Hashem puts it to the point where he gets the worst punishment possible, then the guy who's doing the opposite, Hashem rewards 500 times more. He's doing the greatest thing. And the Chavot HaLevavot says something unbelievable on this. The Chavot HaLevavot says, let's say you have a guy, I'm paraphrasing, and the guy he's a perfect human being, okay, in his relationship with God, okay. He studies Torah. He knows the entire Torah. He memorizes everything. He keeps every mitzvah and every halacha. He works on his character traits. He's perfected his character traits, okay. He reached the level of the prophets, okay, and the guy is, he's unbelievable. But if he doesn't do what we call kiruv, if he doesn't reach out to other Jews and teach them and bring them closer to Torah, the Torah, Chavot HaLevavot says, sorry, he doesn't reach the same level. That guy, the most religious guy like that, who's so focused on himself, he doesn't reach the level of somebody who is actively pursuing the agenda of bringing other Jews back. So that guy who's so focused on himself, he's never going to reach the level of a guy who does kiruv, a guy who brings other people back. That's unbelievable. And the question is why? Why is that? He's studying Torah. He loves Hashem. He's studying Torah. He's doing mitzvot. How does a guy like that not reach the same level as a guy who does kiruv, a guy who brings Jews back? So to answer this, we got to go to the Rambam. And the Rambam, in the midst of loving God, says something unbelievable. Rambam says that when, Maimonides, he says when somebody loves something, when you love something so much, what do you do when you love something? What's a litmus test of you loving something? When you share it with everybody you know. For example, if I watched, an amazing, again, not to say that, movies are okay, but let's say somebody watched an amazing movie. Okay, he watched an unbelievable movie. And he's like, wow, this movie was unbelievable. What does that guy do? The guy goes to all his friends, his family, got to watch this movie. Or you went to a fancy restaurant. You went to the fanciest restaurant possible, right? What do you say? Oh my gosh, it was so good. You tell everybody you know. Why? Because when you love something, when you think something is great, you can't keep it to yourself. You have to share it with others. So how does this answer that? If somebody truly loves God, what's the litmus test if you love God? The litmus test if you love God is that not only do you love His Torah and study it. I was talking to a lawyer and I told the guy, do you really like law? Come on, do you study law in your free time? He said, no. I said, so you don't love law. When you're not doing anything, if you really loved it, it would be all day on your mind. That's all you think about. When you're on your breaks, you'd be reading law books, right? You don't really love it. When you love something, you're attached to it. But not only that though, you would convince everybody else to go into that field. Not for the money aspect, because, oh wow, it's so great, I love it, right? When you love something, you want to share with everybody you know. So if you really love Torah, if you really love Hashem, and you love His Torah and mitzvot, then you would introduce Hashem to everybody you know. You would spread the Torah. And that's the problem with the guy who, again, I'm not saying about everybody, but I'm saying, let's say you have the religious guy who's self-centered and his whole focus is his own Yiddishkeit, his own Judaism. That guy will never reach the level of the Baal Teshuvah. Why? Because if Judaism is a relationship with God and the relationship is based off the love, well, he doesn't truly love God. Why doesn't he truly love God? Because if you really love God, then you would be bringing people back to Him. then you'd be talking about God all the time. Then everywhere you go, if you see someone disconnected, you'd be spreading the love. You'd be spreading, the idea of God. You'd be telling the guy, oh, you know who God is? You'd be bringing people to shul all the time. You'd be spreading lectures. You'd be every opportunity you can to get, to spread Torah, you would do whatever you can. And that's the litmus test. If you want to see a litmus test of someone who truly loves God, then you got to see, what is the guy doing to bring people back to Judaism? If you really love it, if Judaism is amazing, then you should be sharing it with everybody you know. You should be bringing people. You should be teaching classes, whatever it is. But the idea is, we live in a world, unfortunately, that ideology became, it's all about me. It's all about my relationship with Hashem. What about the entire Jewish people? What about the fact that 90% of Jews in the world are disconnected from God, don't know what Torah is, don't know what mitzvah, don't believe in God, don't have a relationship with the creator of the universe, are not doing the purpose of life? Does that bother you? And if it does bother you, are you doing anything about it? No? So then you don't love Hashem. That's it. That's the reality. You don't love God. Because if you really loved God, Rambam says clear, it's a halacha. Rambam's not making this up. This is the oral Torah. The oral Torah, God, meaning God told us, if you really love me, then you'll be spreading me everywhere. And that's why you're spreading my name everywhere. You try getting everybody close to me. And that's why Avraham, for example, why did Hashem love Avraham? Why did Hashem, why was Avraham? Because the Torah says that Avraham, and Rambam actually brings the example of Avraham. Avraham would dedicate his entire life to bringing people closer to God. That's what his mission was. So what's the idea? The idea is, if we really love God, then we're going to do whatever we can to bring his kids back to him. With the 90% of assimilation, 90% of Jews disconnected from God, with the 75% assimilation rate. In America, millions of Jews converted to Christianity. 20% of Jews in America have no religion at all. 40% of non-Asian Buddhists in America, are Jewish. It's unbelievable what is going on. And I said in my previous classes, they're not rejecting Judaism because they study the Torah and then now they're choosing to reject it. They don't know any better. So if you really love Hashem, then what are you doing? Why is your whole Judaism just focused on you? I like to give this example. I think this is a really good example. Think of, Judaism as a basketball game. We're trying to win the game. And what is winning the game? Winning the game is bringing God to every corner of the earth. Meaning what? Teaching the entire world about God. So as Jews, we have the responsibility to spread Torah everywhere, spread mitzvot, spread the idea of relationship with God, spread the idea of purpose of life. Even to the non-Jews. That's our mission. We're the teachers of the world. We're supposed to teach all the nations about God. And by doing that, we'll bring Mashiach, we'll bring world peace, yada, yada, yada. But what's the idea? Think of it as a basketball. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to win the game. We're trying to get everyone back to God. We're trying to get all the idolatry and all the nonsense out of the world and bring the world to morality and ethics. What we call ethical monotheism. So if that's our goal, if that's our mission, to bring the world back to God, now think of the Jewish people we're playing on the basketball court. So we have two. Let's categorize it. We have the secular Jews and we have the religious Jews. Okay, the secular Jews are whenever you play a basketball game and the people don't show up, it's an automatic forfeit. So we need everybody to play, right? If people say, oh, I don't want to play, I'm not, okay, we forfeit the game. It's game over. So the secular Jews are not participating. We could compare them to the people who don't show up to the game. That's the problem. It's not going to work. On the other hand, and again, I'm not saying everybody, I'm just saying an ideology, in the religious world is, oh, it's all about me, it's all about my relationship. So in this example, it would be kind of like, I don't know if you ever played basketball and with a bunch of people, but at the park, but a lot of times when people are playing basketball at the park, it's not five, let's say you're playing a 5-on-5, it's not really a 5-on-5. It's everybody's playing king of the court. If you know king of the court, it's like one-on-one basketball. Yeah, there is 5 people playing versus 5 people, but they're not, all the people are on the same team supposedly. They're every time they get the ball, it's one-on-one basketball. It's them versus the guy who's guarding them, that's it. It's one-on-one basketball. There's no team effort. There's no okay, we're all in this together, we all have to work as a team, I'm here, it's all about me. It's all about how many threes I make, how many, shots, layups I score. It's not about anybody else on the court but me. And that's called selfish basketball. And if somebody's Judaism is like that it's all self-centered. What are the ways of seeing if it's self-centered? Do you invite people who are less affiliated to your Shabbat table? Do you try teaching people Torah? I always ask people, once a week, do you spend 15 minutes once a week teaching somebody less knowledgeable than you, teaching them Torah? If we really love every other Jew, then we would spread Torah to them. So what's the idea? We can't have people not showing up, the secular Jews, and we can't have, again, I'm not saying all religious Jews, I'm saying many people have that ideology, it's all about me. We need to all play as a team. We're all on the same team. We all have the same goal to win the game, and winning the game is bringing God to the world. So, Bezrat Hashem, whoever is listening to this, I don't know who's going to be listening to this. It's going to be on, posting it online. If you're listening to this, I don't care who you are, Jewish, non-Jewish, but especially if you're Jewish, okay? I want you to realize that if the person that God hates the most is someone who brings people away from the Torah, then the greatest person is someone who brings people closer to Torah. And if that's the idea, and that's the way to truly love God, by bringing his kids back to him, by, if you really love him, by spreading him all over to the world, spreading who he is and trying to get everybody to understand who God is, then I want you to take one thing upon yourself. The one thing I want you to take upon yourself is to make a goal for 15 minutes a week or every 2 weeks to learn with a Jew who is less affiliated. Okay? I'm not talking about learning with somebody who already went to Jewish school. Okay, fine, that's great. But I'm saying someone who's actually not affiliated, who doesn't know. Although everybody needs help. Even the person who went to Jewish school, sometimes he needs, he didn't get such a strong education. Everybody needs help. But the specific example I'm giving here is somebody who maybe went to public school, who doesn't know how to read Am Yisrael, who doesn't know Hebrew, who doesn't know anything. And I'm not saying go teach them Hebrew. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying find somebody like that and teach them. Teach them Torah. Call them on the phone. Say, hey, can me and you learn every 2 weeks for 15 minutes on the phone, or every week, 15 minutes? We'll learn whatever you want. And if you don't know what to teach, don't worry. You'll pick up a book in English and read it. And if he has questions, you'll look it up together and you'll figure it out. Okay? Because if he has questions, you don't know how to answer them, that's something showing your Judaism is lacking. Because, if he's asking you, what is the purpose of life? And you as a religious Jew don't know the answer to that, then maybe you gotta, that's probably one of the most important questions that a religious Jew needs to know. But the idea is, take it upon yourself to just, one Jew. If you could teach many, teach many. If you could get a class together, whatever you could do. Again, I'm just giving a simple example so people don't get, too overwhelmed. Pick somebody and teach them. I actually had an initiative, and hopefully somebody who's listening to this could start this initiative that I think would be a game changer. Imagine every synagogue, the rabbi told everybody in the synagogue, let's say he has 100 congregants, that everybody there, they're going to do one night a week, let's say Wednesday night, they're going to make that night a night seder, a night of learning, and all those 100 people who go to that synagogue have to bring somebody secular who is not connected, doesn't go to synagogue, and they have to personally teach them Torah. Now, what's amazing about that? Number one, the rabbi benefits because new people come to the synagogue that never have came before. That's amazing, okay? And so, there's more people. Number two, the person who's giving over the classes, he's going to benefit. Because once he starts teaching somebody Torah, that's going to make him more invested in what he's learning. It's going to make him more invested in Judaism. That's how you get somebody, who grew up his whole life religious, FFB, as we like to call it, from birth. How do you get somebody like that passionate? Because it's very hard when you grew up with it, you get so used to it. How do you get somebody like that passionate? Get him to start teaching. So he teaches, so he learns, and the third person that benefits is the guy who doesn't, who's totally unaffiliated. Now he's going to come to shul, he's going to get connected. Now think of it like that. If every shul did that, it would be a game changer. It would be a different, ball game. The assimilation would be much lower. The intermarriage would be much lower. The ignorance would be much lower. So Bezrat Hashem, please take it upon yourself to learn with one person, to make it a goal, to teach them Torah. I highly recommend, if you want to start somewhere, to do Indisputable Truth. If anybody wants free copies, bli neder, no promises, just email me. I'm going to work my best to find a sponsor to get you copies. Okay? But Bezrat Hashem, may the merit of this, may Hashem bless us that, we all love Hashem. If you're listening to this, you love Hashem. You want to learn Torah. You want to get close to Him. Bezrat Hashem, let us try our best to get to that level of loving Hashem by bringing His kids back. And Bezrat Hashem, may Hashem bless us and shower with all the brachot of the Torah. Thank you so much for doing and taking part of this huge mitzvah of doing kiruv. Okay, and if you want more information on kiruv, I highly recommend going to my YouTube channel. Okay, you're probably listening to this on the YouTube channel. I have a playlist called the Kiruv Jewish Outreach Playlist, okay, Jewish Leadership Playlist. I highly recommend going through there. I have classes on Aish destinations, Kiruv training classes from Aish. That also, you can find the playlist on my YouTube channel. And, I just, again, going through Indisputable Truth, mastering the concept, and Bezrat Hashem, just making an effort, okay? There's no losing. And if you like this video, please subscribe, like, comment, and Bezrat Hashem, we'll finish there. Thank you.
Hey, say, toiler, hustler, do a mitzvah, make a bracha. Toiler, hustler, do a mitzvah, make a